Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. We're recording, Nuya. We're going to put some of this information on the website because I want to get this out to people. So because some of the new people are not here yet, I think they're kind of signing on as we go. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time on our mission statement. You guys have heard it before a million times. Basically, our goal here is to be able to use these wonderful sciences of astrology and Ayurveda as great opportunities for us to improve our lives and to achieve abundance in all areas, in health and relationships and our soul growth. And, without going into all of the specific scientific factors that go into making this a viable science, we'll just say, suffice it to say, because you guys all know this, that the body's made up of predominantly fluids and they're affected by the celestial bodies in the universe, and not just their gravitational pull, but also their ionic transfer, their chemical composition, and all their radioactivity as they splash and bombard our bodies at the day that we take our first breath, and they imprint all that information into our wonderful genetic compository types of into our DNA, into our neurological tissues, into our cerebral spinal fluid, and that imprints our neurological tissue like our brain and our cerebellum and our cortices and all our spinal cord with these gravitational imprints and these chemical infusions that give us our likes and our dislikes. Okay, so having said that, I feel obligated to kind of go over our little mission statement each week. One of the things that I wanted to discuss with you guys, and you guys are a great group, actually. This is nice because we have all the people who are actually, you guys are using astrology as ways to improve your life. The big news this week that we're all aware of is that Mercury has gone direct as of Tuesday, November 3rd, and Mars is going direct next week on November 13th. I'm going to be gradually letting more people in, so excuse me. Bam. Good. So as Mercury, hey Mom, thanks for joining. Can you hear? Got a nice picture of you. Okay. As Mercury goes direct in the sign of Libra, this is really a wonderful new opportunity for us because Libra being in Mercury is going to give us a little bit greater clarity on our thinking and most importantly on our creativity this week. I said that Mercury is going direct this week, and that's a big deal for a lot of people, but there's some key information coming up that has made this a very unusual redirection of Mercury. There's a few things mitigating the usual release that we feel when Mercury goes direct, and I'm going to go over them with you. But as we said, Mercury going direct in the sign of Libra almost always gives everybody a greater sense of clarity in their thinking and their creativity, and possibly leading us to feeling a little bit more sociable and a little more talkative, which is great. This week is still very challenging. A lot of this stuff is going to be more applicable for next week. Excuse me, let somebody, okay. So the creativity that's coming this week is going to give us a greater sense of being able to reach our goals. And that's what Libra does. So in addition to Mercury going direct and Mars going direct next week, we also have the very, very beautiful, benefic, and helpful planet of Venus, our planet of love, that brings us great joy, include in all areas of things, all the things that bring us great joy, including our relationships and money and all those wonderful things. It's going to be entering into Libra also, and it's going to happen for the first 3 weeks of November. Why is this important? Because this brings even more social involvement. So now we've got a couple of things really leading to us feeling a little bit more social. You may be saying to yourself, well, if that's the case, why do I feel less social? Well, I'm looking at a couple of people right here, whose names I won't mention, but I already see a big social, like Adam and I were talking yesterday, and he was talking about how he is now propelled because of some unseen force or all the work that he's been doing into feeling more social. You were talking about that yesterday. This will allow all of us to feel, even if you have Venus in anything that's even somewhat applicable, actually anybody who has Venus in their chart, and that's all of us, that's 8.2 billion of us, you're going to be experiencing a sense of greater social involvement and a greater sense, the most importantly, of feeling more attractive and feeling more approachable. I got to tell you, I was just came from the gym a little while ago. I was working there. I was pumping out the weights, and I looked at some guy in the mirror, and I said, "Oh my God, he looks pretty good. Okay, he's probably feeling it." I looked a little closer, and it was me. I was like, "Oh my God, I do look pretty good," except for one thing. It was just Libra and Venus speaking to me, which gives us a sense of us being a little bit more attractive than we actually are. So I was like, rotten Venus and Libra. So, hey, Belinda, you look gorgeous. Your hair came out
Still
very nice.
curling my hair because I'm going to be social tonight.
Wait, what do you have? Okay.
No, I said I'm still curling my hair because I'm going to be social tonight. No.
Yes, of course. Well, you're the perfect embodiment of this. I see all of you must go out because you all look deliciously beautiful. But also we got that sense of Libra really rearing its head right now. Venus is going to make us want to just go out and say, okay, boys and girls, look at me. I'm hot stuff. So the new moon also is something else that's leading us to this feeling. And remember, guys, I'm talking about these things happening this week, but mostly they're going to be happening next week. The new moon in the middle of the month, which again is next week, is in the sign of Scorpio. Well, what we know of Scorpio is that, yes, Scorpio is sensual and beautiful. And usually people who have a lot of Scorpion energy usually have a lot of physical sexiness about them. But it's also said that it brings us great clarity in our thinking regarding issues of money, especially. Scorpio, as we know, is the intense thinker. Now, I know my mom's on board, but I got to tell you, I was raised by a very, very Scorpio father. And if I could say if there was any way to explain his Scorpio energy, I think I would just say he was an intense thinker. Wouldn't you say, Mom? All right, she's connecting to audio. Not going to work. So one of the greater trends this month seems to be also, and I was just talking to Pam, this really applies to you. One of the greater trends this month seems to be that there's going to be greater prosperity in the area of money and the reduction of things that have been limiting us as far as the ways we make money. This is going to be lessened dramatically. And this is because of that new moon going into Scorpio. Now, we talked a little bit earlier with Pam, and she said she's getting ready to buy another house. You asked me what I felt intuitively. Well, intuitively, I intuitively go to the astrological makeup and say, okay, with this thing happening in Scorpio and the Libra and the new moon, I say this is the best place. This is the best time of all to be looking at relationships. Really what happens here is because Mars is going direct also. Guys, I know this seems like a lot. Just remember this. Mercury's gone direct and Mars is going to direct next week. This lends us to feeling that there's going to be greater cohesiveness in business relationships. And once Mars goes direct, we're really going to feel it. Now, something is happening this week that's mitigating a lot of this. But Pamela, are you there? You're going to move forward with the purchase of the house. If you do that, right now is the perfect time. There you are. You got an unmute if you want, sweetie. But this is the perfect time for you to be developing the relationships associated with it, because as we feel the lessening of the conflict of Mars in retrograde, this is the time we develop the relationships that are necessary to create the abundance that's going to happen next week. How's your relationship going with the new realtor for the new house?
We are going to bypass this one and look at the next one.
But your relationship with the realtor is something that you're supposed to be cultivating this week. Is that what's happening? Your timing is impeccable. You are definitely a little astro princess in regard to understanding that this is what the time is right for you. So that's great. What was wrong with the other house?
They didn't like my offer.
Oh. All right. So at least the relationship's going in the right direction.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this is a perfect example. We're going to continue a little bit. So one other very interesting astrological thing that's happened this week is that a number of my clients have mentioned this. They say, even though Mercury retrograde has ended early this week, it doesn't feel any different. In fact, it feels worse in some cases. A number of people have complained about this. And you see this with obstacles in the home, obstacles with electronics. You see this with obstacles with feeling uneasy. And there's a reason why this is happening, even though retrograde ended a couple of days ago. And we all always seem to patiently wait for Mercury to go direct for these periods. But when it went direct earlier, we seem to be still experiencing the struggles associated with the normal Mercury retrograde. And the reason why this is happening is because Mercury is sitting at 28 degrees. What does this mean? It's like 27, 28 degrees. The degrees are not important. Who cares what the degrees are? The big thing that's important is that it's squaring Saturn. Does anybody know why this is challenging to Mercury? I'm going to tell you. Joyce, you there? I know she's still connecting to audio, so I would usually defer to my resident astrologer on this, but she's obviously not there. Well, the reason that this is a problem is because Saturn is still in Capricorn. Capricorn represents our structure. Capricorn is responsible for almost all the struggles that we've been experiencing in 2020. And 2020 has been a bitch. It's been a hard year. We've all struggled through it. You know, Saturn is our planet of intense lessons and corrections. And usually it presents us with some very, very intense difficulties in our lives. And we kind of curse Saturn. For those of us who know astrology, we say, oh no, Saturn's going into this sign. But you know what? We mentioned on numerous occasions that October and November were going to be a very rocky road. And it had to do with the fact that we're experiencing so many of these squares and so many of these eclipses coming up until December. Now, I really wanted to talk to my mom about this because we talked about it on the show on Wednesday. And basically, squares and eclipses during the period of squares and eclipses, and we're in square and eclipse season like crazy right now, they create kind of like a friction, like you were trying to grind your knuckles into a bowl of glass. I know it's not a very pleasant thought, but that's kind of the way it feels. So we're experiencing a lot of this stuff for October and November. And as we can meander and kind of navigate our way through these next 2 months, we can experience a lot less of this energy as we go into December. But it does require that we do the work. So right now, where are we right now? We're experiencing these squares. We're experiencing a square between Mercury, the way our brains work, with Saturn, the thing teaching us lessons. And we're feeling like nothing is getting done and we're walking in place. So what do we do about this? Well, you know, the theme for today's Zoom conference was basically about, excuse me. We were talking about what we do during these periods of squares and eclipses. And what do we do about this? The theme of today's show is basically how to have patience and being present. We want to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be present? And what does it mean to be patient? You know, I love Eckhart Tolle. He's taught me a lot of lessons during some very, very challenging periods in my life. And I like his extensive attention that he pays towards being present. Now, Adam and I were talking a little bit yesterday about why so many people are experiencing such difficulty right now, but Adam seems to be coursing through this period. And we were talking about doing the work. And I think one of the things that has to do with the work that we've done, and Adam, maybe you can share a little bit, has to do with going back a few months, maybe even the full year of 2020, and realizing that there was this state of upheaval in the universe, and that we weren't going to be victimized by it. We were going to fight it tooth and nail. And the way we fight it tooth and nail is by staying present. That's one of them. And obviously honoring our corrections, which we could do. I know we were talking a little before the conference, Adam. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I feel like the most important thing that I learned a long time ago from Ram Dass was the concept of witnessing myself. And I've taken that to great levels to where I can be calm and patient and serene because I know that whatever I'm worried about or trying to figure out is just part of my earthly life, my body life, my dream life. And so I don't feel like I don't get shaken by it, in other words. And yeah, I have had some of those technical difficulties actually. And I was like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working?
It's so interesting. You know, it's so interesting. People people ask all the time, and they're waiting with bated breath to hear when the retrograde is going to be over. And the retrograde ended on. Hey, Mom, is that you? Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you're making a lot of noise. So if you're not muted, just keep the noise, if you could, down just a drop. We were talking about, oh, I'm going to let Sharon in. We were talking about some of the things that are happening this week in regard to Mercury going retrograde, going direct after 3.5 weeks of retrograde, but it doesn't feel like it's really going direct yet. And it has to do with a big square that's going on between Mercury and Saturn. And so, you know, this leads us to one of the themes of today's conference, which was all about what do we do to get present? What do we do to be patient? Because right now we're being asked to be patient. And I don't know what it was, Ma. I was going to ask you to chime in on something, but I forgot what it was. But anyway, with your clients, are you experiencing a lot of people saying, oh my God, what's going on? Like even Eddie, who's in Edward Miller, who's in the office next door. I don't know, Ed, if you're here with us, but he was mentioning that he came into my office next door and said, Scott, what's going on right now? I don't understand. Is Mercury retrograde or something? And it was a day after Mercury had gone direct. And I said, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. There's a badass square going on between Saturn and Mercury. So it feels like it's not really over. And I wanted you to chime in on that, see if any of your clients have been going through that. Did we lose you?
Okay.
Oh,
No, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
You're
Okay.
beautiful. And you look beautiful too. Your picture's gorgeous.
I have no idea, but thank you very much. I don't know which picture it is, but something came up automatically. I wanted to say what you're saying is brilliant, and it's absolutely correct. However, what we're really dealing with is a global picture of, as we've discussed previously, the shifting of dimensions, which reaches an apex December 21st, right after the eclipse on the 14th of December. So you really have to hold on to your undies between now and then and realize that it's an amazing time because the human consciousness, as you just mentioned, Scott, is really expanding and opening up.
Ma, there's a problem with this, though.
What?
A lot of our clients don't wear undies.
I know that, but they have to hold on to something. That was extremely funny. But the thing is that the point is that it's a time of dropping the old, getting rid of things that no longer work for us. There are so many people around us who are holding on to old ways that don't work anymore, that 9-to-5 consciousness that has to end. And that's what the battle is about. The sooner we drop the old ways and start meditating and bringing in more light, because there's a huge cosmic battle going on now that really has to be addressed. So it's an unseen, invisible battle. The Ascended Masters are working with our energy. They're doing the best we can, and we have to cooperate. A lot of darkness.
Absolutely. You know, Ma, we talk about this every week on the radio show and on the Zoom conference. And, you know, I thought just maybe I'd give us all a little break this week and not talk about it. But there's no way to avoid it, especially since one of the themes was about Mercury going direct, but it's still squaring this pain in the ass thing with Saturn, which is at the core of what this whole correction process has been. You know, Adam and I were talking about it, and Dr. Anisha, I'm going to ask you I know you're busy on another conference and you're juggling, so I appreciate it, but we want to chime in a little bit about what this means on an Ayurvedic level, because it's really astoundingly interesting what this is creating on an Ayurvedic level. Remember, our mission here is to be able to use these age-old sciences that were left to us by the ancient yogis and rishis as ways to create abundance by understanding what's going on in the universe and allowing us to bring it over into our personal lives. That means the biorhythms of the earth are directly coordinating with the circadian rhythms of our bodies, and we can use these to our advantage. Now, one of the big things, which obviously, because Joyce mentioned it, we can't avoid it, is this whole Saturn-Pluto thing. The Saturn is the correction planet, and Pluto is death and transformation. It's been going on for all of 2020. And for those of us, and we're going to finish off on this because it does manifest in each of us individually on an Ayurvedic level. And I'm going to tell you what to do about it. Maybe Dr. Anisha can chime in. But if we don't do the work, and we were just talking about what is the work and who's done what, then we're going to be forced to either repeat the mission, repeat the correction, or we're going to stay in this third dimensional vibration, which is not what the people who are here and what many of the people who have been brought into our circles are being compelled to do. So one of the things regarding the work to do is right now, because of this confusing thing where Mercury retrograde is ended, as this is just a small example of it, but because Mercury retrograde is ended, but yet it doesn't feel like it, well, everybody's saying to mom and to myself, why does it still feel like nothing's working? There's so much friction. Well, because there's a square between Saturn and Mercury, right? So what do we do about this? Well, I'm asking everybody to be patient. Number one. Number two, we're asking you to remain present because all our friction is coming from projecting forward beyond the present moment we're in. So we're asking ourselves to remain present. As I said before, I love Eckhart Tolle because he puts extensive attention on being present. I was getting home from the gym before and I said, okay, I know we're going to start this Zoom conference. What am I going to do to not be a hypocrite? Well, I leave my car and I'm walking home and I'm feeling the anxiety of 50,000 things, 5, 6, 8 projects that are all happening at the same time. I said, I'm going to do my 3 breath technique and look at those geometric shapes. And what this means is that I have a couple of simple ways. I don't know. Hey, Eddie, are you going to join us? Because we want to ask you something. I have a couple of simple exercises that I like to do. I like to do the 3 breath technique while I look at a geometric shape in front of me. This, for some reason, works very well with me because as I breathe in for 3, 1,000, 2, 1,003, and I hold. As I'm holding, I look at a geometric shape. Right now, I'm looking at the outline and the right angle that's created by my iPad that I'm using for today's Zoom conference. And then I hold for 3. And as I continue looking at it, I exhale, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do it again for 4. We breathe in for 1, 1,000, 2, 1,003, and 4. As either we close our eyes, I like looking at a geometric shape and then closing my eyes and trying to continue to see that shape. And we hold for 4, and then we let go for 4, continuing to maintain attention on that shape. And then we do it for a count of 5. Look ahead, close your eyes, take a deep breath for 5, continue seeing that shape. 1,000, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Continue seeing the shape. And then as we exhale a third and final time, we open our eyes and we see that shape. Well, that immediately brings me back to being present. I know just a moment ago I was racing. So now I've kind of come back a little bit. So on an Ayurvedic level, now all of you guys, we've spoken to you, you basically know some of the very basics of Ayurvedic medicine. Does anybody know what of the 3 doshas is experiencing the biggest imbalance based on all this confusion that we're experiencing in the universe this year? I'll give you a hint. I said the hint is confusion. What do you think, Adam?
Vata.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I know Dr. Anisha is here and hello, Dr. Anisha. I was wondering if you could, so everybody can listen to somebody besides me, can you explain what it means to have some good Vata energy versus when Vata energy falls out of balance?
Sure, I would love to share. I want to just make a comment about the breathing technique that you shared is an excellent strategy for managing Vata because Vata is all about being ungrounded and confused and unstable and restless and scattered and all over the place. And this is also Vata season is the fall months. So September, October, November, we're in Vata season. All of the planets that you mentioned that are activated right now are increasing that Vata energy as well. So being able to have strategies to stabilize, to ground, breathing techniques. Another nice breathing technique to do is to stand on the earth and ground through your feet, or do a seated meditation where your feet are on the floor. You can be out nature, feet in the sand, feet in the earth. That's an excellent way for Vata to ground. And then just thinking about ways to stabilize yourself. So if you're one of those people who's constantly rushing around doing lots of different things, see how can you take away some of those things from your activities so that you can focus more on one thing at a time. instead of feeling like you're racing through, you know, a million different things at the same time. And then
That's-
eating
yeah, that's
food
great.
that are grounding, nourishing, warming, heavy root vegetables, soups, all of that's going to be great during this time of year.
You know, those great information. And I wanted to ask, as you were speaking, Doc, if who of us tends to race around and do a lot of stuff. And I'm looking at Nuya. No offense, Nuya, but I know your chart, so I know you bring up a ton of Vata energy, most of it good, all of it good from what I can see. But when it's going on for the macro in the earth, the people who are particularly susceptible, like myself, because I have a lot of creative Vata energy. That was the thing I wanted to mention. Vata's wonderful. All three doshas are wonderful. Pitta gets stuff done. Kapha keeps us relaxed from having a heart attack. Vata makes sure we're always creative and have fun and, you know, are lively and spry with great new ideas. However, each of those is prone to falling out of balance, and we definitely get affected by the circadian rhythms of the earth coordinating with ours. I look at Dr. Anisha, who's got a lot of creative Vata energy, and I put that happy, positive, disclaimer in beforehand, and so does Nuya. So, like, you guys may feel that you're getting burned out a little bit because the Vata can run and run and run, and we can feel that energy as it correlates with what's going on right now. And remember, what's going on right now? Mercury. All we've been talking about all year is Saturn and Pluto. Let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is this wonderful planet. It has to do with how we think. It rules Gemini and Virgo, two very, very Vata types of energy, and which is all about intellect. So you guys who have a lot of that, myself included, Adam too, a lot of Vata, we may find ourselves easily knocked out of balance or getting more of the effects. And I have noticed this, especially with, well, people I won't mention right now, but myself, we get knocked out of balance with all this excessive mercurial energy. And all of a sudden we experience extreme fatigue after this. And that's degenerative for our bodies. We know it creates an inflammatory response. We know, Maria's joining us. We know that it can potentially create a disharmony. So when Dr. Anisha says things like, okay, go stand in the earth, I love this. I love the idea of doing our yoga. Dr. Anisha, how do you feel about doing yoga with bare hands and bare feet in the earth? And also, how do you feel? A number of my clients recently who've, this one woman, Susan, who's on a high floor and has a massive Vata imbalance. I asked her, please come down to the earth when you do a little bit, even if you are exercising. Don't jump on your trampoline up on the 15th floor. Come down to the earth, right? Is there great foundation in this concept?
There's a great foundation, except Vata people love rooftops. Lofted in the air, and I taught a rooftop yoga class for the past 4 years, and my Vata students absolutely loved it. But yeah,
But you're in balance right now. Well, right now you're experiencing fatigue are you experiencing any fatigue and confusion, by the way?
no, I'm not.
All right, so you're one of the balanced Vatas.
But yeah, doing yoga on the earth, at the beach, just connecting to that feeling of grounding is so powerful.
Thank you. Well, so we've got all this Mercury going on, which is all, as we said, intellect. I look at you guys, and I'm thinking about my mom as well, who's got a lot of. Oh my God, my mom's chart, double Gemini, Aries, Aquarius, Libra, everywhere. And all of a sudden, I'm saying, okay, well, Mom, I don't know if you can hear us, but you know, I want to protect your heart. I know it doesn't seem like a direct correlation, but it is, because inflammation that can build up from a Vata imbalance will go wherever there's a susceptibility. And that means if you got a hangnail on your toe, that's where it's going to go. Or if you have a little something with your heart, you know, I know you're perfectly healthy and wonderful, but we always want to be aware of the things that we may have karmically been born into. Mom, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah, I know you want to chime in and want to hear from somebody else, but tell me what you think about that.
I think that as you know, the earth has everything we could possibly want in it, and nature has created all the cures that we need, whether it's natural chiropractic or Ayurvedic or whatever we do. So yes, I'm experiencing, even though I have no symptoms, I'm experiencing a physical challenge. which I think is ridiculous because I feel perfectly well. So it's exactly what you said. And I thank you for saying that. So I have decided that I'm going to address it with Oriental medicine. So that's all I wanted to say about that. And yes, you are correct. We're being challenged now in ways that are surprising and shocking, but it's good because it all comes to the surface and we get rid of it and we move on. So this is all good.
Absolutely. You know, I know Maria just joined us, and hi, Maria. Nice to see you. I want to ask you a question. Are you there?
Hi guys, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
here.
Maria, I did your chart and I looked at you. You have a lot of Pitta and Kapha, but this year, have you been experiencing any confusion at all, more so than usual?
Well, I think
In
in
relation,
case of the situation with COVID, most of us are between all these forces. Hi guys. So, but I also feel like I'm struggling. It's an internal struggling about me being. I feel pushed. No, I don't know how to express that. I feel pushed to take radical changes towards the rest of my life. Like now is the beginning of the rest of my life. That's how I feel. I don't know if that might be taken as a confusion. I feel like it's just overwhelmed. It's an overwhelming feeling. I feel, if I might say, maybe confusing the way how I should go or proceed next. But I feel mostly like the forces of nature are telling me it's time for change, for a dramatic change for good.
that's what we're all doing here on this conference is we're acknowledging and aware of the fact that this whole thing that's happened is forcing us to transform and to change. And Maria, I chose you because I looked at your chart, and I want to hear from Michael also, because he has something similar with you guys, with you, and that is a very strong, aggressive Pitta nature. Now, Adam and I were just talking about this before, and I feel personally, maybe Dr. Anisha can chime in, this confusion, sometimes if you're very, very balanced and aware, especially of your corrections and some of the lessons that are being given to us, that we can basically pound out like a rock through paper, this confusion, this Vata confusion, just by drawing on some of the good and positive energies associated with Pitta. And I believe that maybe, Dr. Anisha, you can tell us more, but Vata picks up a lot of energy from both sides of the coin because it's the middle dosha. Is that correct?
Well, I'm going to take a step back for a second and just respond to what you said about Mercury and Saturn.
Yes.
Even though I'm not an astrologer here, but just based on what I've learned with you so far and the connection with the doshas. And Mercury really represents that overthinking mind, and Vata represents movement. And so this is a time period when there is perpetual movement of the mind and overthinking and over analyzing and over reflecting. And the comments that you made, Dr. Scott, at the beginning about just being present, this is really a time to try not to get lost in that Vata roller coaster of just going with each thought wherever it's going up and down and following it. And what you mentioned about Saturn, my experience with Saturn is that Saturn is a Vata planet that gets us to really look at ourselves in the mirror and be present and sit with our thoughts, sit with our emotions, sit with our confusion, where we don't necessarily have to come up with an answer, like Maria, what you said about being a little confused right now. You don't necessarily have to come up with a solution or an answer, but you just have to be present and sit with it and look at it and examine what the confusion is around. And just by sitting and being present with it, clarity starts to come, because being present gives that Vata sense of grounding. And that it's through that we emphasize the positive Vata qualities of clarity and creativity.
I love that so much. That was so beautifully articulated, Doc. I appreciate it. Michael, I'm going to call you in 1 second, but Folks, it's so important to remember that there is a blend of astrological energy with Ayurveda, that we can utilize this. In martial arts, we talk about a punch that's coming at you. We just use a small amount of force to deviate it, and we can take all the energy that would have normally knocked this other person down next to us, and we can benefit from it. Folks, please remember that even though Saturn creates what feels like an absolute horror show, and it's in Capricorn, but it's affecting all of us because it's in line with Jupiter and Pluto, first time in 700 years, 600 to 700 years. And even though it feels like that horror show, it forces us to face our deepest fears. Here's the key. Fear is the thing that disempowers us, and it literally tricks us into believing that we are not the gods and goddesses that created everything at the beginning of this experience. Wrong, Saturn. Well, we say, thank you, Saturn. Saturn is the father that smacks you on the ass when you go out into traffic. And he says, okay, embarrassed the shit out of me in front of my friends, excuse my French, but taught you a valuable lesson. And that lesson is what we're going through right now. So Saturn forces us to face these things that have traumatized us and hurt us so badly, and so bad that we never want to face them again. But if we don't, guess what happens? So I learned an interesting thing just from what Dr. Anisha was saying. I always liken Saturn, which rules Capricorn, which Capricorn is a lot of Pitta energy, but it's not entirely true. It's partly, if not largely, Vata, because it creates fear, and fear comes from a Vata imbalance, if I understand correctly. Now, I like to think of Saturn as I want to relabel Saturn right now for all of us. Let's relabel Saturn. I like to think of Saturn as the ultimate astro psychotherapist that forces us to face what we've been hiding from and the things that we have tucked away so deeply that we don't want to ever go there because it's too traumatic. If we can do this, we don't have to repeat the lesson. And we don't have to go into it with fear because we have tools that allow us to address this and to mitigate the fears. Those lessons, those tools, like we just talked about, the breathing exercise, the staying present. Okay, Michael, I want to hear your voice so badly. I know you have done so much work this year. You have quelled that crazy Pitta energy. Through any of this, my question for you is, have you experienced confusion? You seem to be so direct about and knowing everything. How are you feeling, Michael?
No, I'm not really feeling confusion. I feel like I'm just revisiting a lot of stuff. It's just like it's going through my mind, but there's no confusion there. I feel calmer now, and I'm accepting of it. So I'm rolling with it. I don't know if that makes sense.
I love it.
It's not scaring me anymore. That's all. Yeah. But today's been a calmer day for me. I don't know why. Like I just woke up like I felt like everything, and it has nothing to do with the election. It's just something feels like the energy is like there's like a loving energy like pouring over today. There's just something lighter about today more than, and it's been happening the past couple of days. I noticed, but especially today.
You know, I use you as an example, and I want to ask Dr. Anisha one more question. And Dr. Anisha, thank you for joining us today and letting us tap into your incredible wealth of knowledge regarding Ayurveda. But like when I look at Michael, when I look at Belinda, or even myself to a degree, I notice that a strong, powerful, acknowledged, self-realized Pitta energy, which is very focused, has the ability to offset some of that Vata energy on that Vata thing on an energetic level. Is there any credence to that? That's what I really wanted to ask, because as I look at Michael and Belinda and even Adam and myself in that regard, it feels like we can blast through the confusion like a rock through paper with pure power and knowing where to go.
Yes, I'm sorry. I realized I didn't answer that question before when you had asked it. I apologize.
It's okay.
There is definitely some truth to that Pitta can help create some more stability for Vata to help navigate through that confusion. The only thing to watch out for is Pitta also brings a certain intensity to it. And Vata doesn't like intensity. Vata needs gentleness to maneuver through its thoughts or its emotions or the fear or the anxiety. So you can use some of the Pitta strategy to help Vata navigate through those emotions, but you want to make sure that you don't bring the Pitta intensity to it.
Okay, so stay right with us for a second. I have a follow-up question, and I'm thinking of our latest arrival, Miss Kerry McAllister. has a lot. I usually pick on Rosa, who's not here with us today. She said she couldn't make it, but imbalance, pitta, can help to mitigate some of that vata imbalance. How about on the other end with a little bit of kapha energy to create some sense of grounding, some sense of like, if we do kapha things, kapha energetically, kapha things, will that mitigate some of this difficult, confusing vata imbalance that we're experiencing right now?
Absolutely. So kapha does bring the grounding, but kapha also brings love and compassion, which is a challenge for a lot of vata people, right? Vata gets consumed with that fear and anxiety, and they forget to love themselves. And that kapha energy of love, compassion, patience, steadiness, stability is excellent for vata. So one of the best things that vata can do is just find a kapha person who will give them a big hug and give them that loving, compassionate energy, because a vata person is too challenged to hug themselves and give themselves that self-love.
So we are doing a love and romance lecture coming up. I don't know if Pamela is still here. We got it coming up next, actually this month. And we're going to talk about some of those relationships. I love what you just said, Doc, because this has been one of my recent joys in the world of Ayurveda, is finding people that take that energy, that whatever is excessive. Michael, Belinda, Adam, myself, let's all go hug Kerry McAllister. Kerry, are you there? We're going to all come and hug you because we want your kapha. Hi, sweetie. How are you?
I have plenty of kapha.
I know. Kerry, you know, with your very relaxed, laid-back approach, many of us who have this heightened pitta and vata energy I just mentioned, maybe you're experiencing a lot less of this than the people around you. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, you know me though, like I'm not really socializing because of everything that's going on in the world at the moment, but yeah, I'm sure those that are around me can probably sense that I do like to share the calmness and that kind of thing.
What do you do to keep yourself calm?
I think it just partly comes from being Australian, and it just seems to be, I don't know, it's just an innate thing. I don't think it's necessarily anything that I do. I mean, I'm very much a person who I try and not let little things bother me. I was taught a very long time ago that if something is bothering you, and if you think about in a year's time or 5 years' time, am I still going to be bothered about this? And if the answer is no, then the answer should be, I shouldn't be bothered about it in 5 minutes either.
Kerry, I think it just comes incredibly naturally to you. Michael and I have talked about this, and we know that you have an inherent, gentle, slower, more methodical way about you. And I personally, based on what Dr. Nisha was saying, I gravitate people towards people like that. And I learned about it later in life. You know, I'm a strong pitta personality, very driven. And I was working in one of the most pitta cities on the planet, New York. And it wasn't until I had a relationship with somebody who had a lot of kapha energy that for the first time in my entire life, Belinda, I hope you're listening to me. For the first time in my whole life, and Michael, I felt every bit of inflammation drain out of the arteries in my arms. I was like, oh my God, this is what it's like to finally relax. Now, granted, I'm Pisces, and Pisces can have a lot of kapha energy, but the other parts of my triangle are Capricorn, very pitta, and Sagittarius, very, very pitta. So, Belinda, my darling, I know you're eating something very delicious.
I'm eating chocolate now. But yeah.
In my quick Ayurvedic quick test, we have a question specifically for you, and that is it very hard to put weight on? It's like almost never.
Yeah, I can eat this whole bar of chocolate and it doesn't impact me one single bit.
Sweetie, have you ever come across a kapha person? Have you come across any kapha people that you felt quelled some of your? I always wanted to ask you this question, but kind of quelled some of that strong pitta heat.
Me?
Yeah.
I think I probably majorly turn off kapha people. No, I think I'm too much. Like I think they just probably walk away from me. Like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
If
know.
you ever get a chance to do what Dr. Anisha says and go hug a kapha like a koala bear, I look at koala bears. And Kerry, maybe that's what you were talking about. The koala bear has the quintessential kapha energy.
I shall now be known as Koala Bear.
But you know what?
Have
My
you ever-
wilderness guide in Yosemite was also from Australia, and he was very calm and very, you know,
It's
like Carrie, I
definitely,
guess.
it's definitely like quite common in a lot of Australians that even though, except for when we're drinking, then we're definitely not calm. But
He wasn't drinking on the trail, but, but he was like awesome, and he was very calm, and you know, I guess you have to be if you're taking a bunch of people out on the trail, and anything can happen, and there's different, you know, some people are fast, some people are slow, blah blah blah. So.
Hey, Sharon, I see you're there. Have you ever hugged a koala bear, Sharon? Because you got a lot of pizza too. I don't know if Sharon can hear us. She's working. Oh, there she.
You just happened to catch me with my phone in my hand. And Jess, we're
Hey,
both here.
Jess. Well,
So have I ever hugged a polar bear?
no, I was making a joke. But you know what's really interesting? You and I, every chance we get, we do hug a koala bear. Because Dr. Anisha was talking about, you know, like people with a strong pitta energy or even a vata imbalance, which is what we're kind of experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm correlating it to our love and romance lecture that we have coming up at the Salt Suite to
Awesome.
go when pitta and vata is out of balance. We got to go hug a kapha. And then we talked to Sherry, who's Australian. I said, I think the koala bear probably has the most kapha energy I've ever seen.
Aw.
And so we have our own koala bear. And her name is Jessica Moises.
Did you hear that? So Jessica, you're our koala bear.
I actually am a koala bear. That's like my whole mix almost.
That's it. Oh, tell them that.
Hey guys.
Hi, Jess. How you feeling, sweetie?
I am okay. I am processing, but I am okay. It's been an intense week, but I'm just getting through it.
Jessica's had a little challenge lately and some sadness in her life. So we're just saying prayers. We put you on the prayer list here at the center.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm looking forward to doing Love and Romance at the Salt Suite next week. Next month, rather. We're doing it next month, right?
Next month.
Okay.
Next month. Not next week.
So thank you for getting on for us. I know you girls are very busy there, so just wanted to say a quick hello.
Oh, hi guys.
Thank you. So I'm gonna ask. I wanted to know who's the other person I wanted to call on here. Oh, Nuya. So Nuya, you're like the perfect person to talk to about this because you have a lot of Vata Aquarian energy, and I know that in a moment, because you put in a lot of work on yourself and you're deeply spiritualized. So I noticed that I've watched you and you've worked for me and with me for many years at the Casey Foundation. I can see a moment where you thrust ahead into your Vata creativity and then there's like a little bit of confusion. And then a few minutes later, you come back and say, okay, this is feeling out of balance. I can feel it. How have you done throughout 2020? That's the question I'd like to hear. And what have you experienced those Vata imbalances and coming back? Has it been more or less? You're so well balanced through your Vata energy. What do you think?
I actually think I do a good job of loving myself. That's been my practice. Like go back to feeling love and focusing on my light. But yeah, it has been challenging, and I've practiced. Because we talked about in another one of our meetings, I said that I had a hard time speaking my mind, and I've been practicing and I'm getting much better.
That's interesting.
I'm sharing what I need to people, even though they may not give me what I need, but at least I'm expressing it now.
Have you? So that's been a challenge for you in the past, is being able to speak your mind and speak your voice. And
yeah, I would say, but it's been especially hard this year.
Let me ask you something. Don't go anywhere. I want to refer to Dr. Anisha for 1 second. Doc, are you still there? Because I have a quick question based on something that Nuya just said, and she's my close personal friend on top of us working together for so many years. Is it fair to say, and I don't mean to make everything so Ayurvedic, but everything is Ayurvedic. So when Nuya has a problem speaking her voice and there's fear and there's confusion, that's a slight acknowledgement of imbalance in Vata. But then when she speaks her voice and she gets up, is she drawing on her Pitta power to mitigate it? Because this is what I was talking about before. What do you think of that, Doc?
Well, I think there's a difference with each dosha being out of balance and being in balance. So I would say for a Vata person, yes, who's consumed with anxiety, fear, confusion, ungroundedness, it might be hard to speak up for themselves. But I actually think it's the Vata coming into balance, not the Pitta that's responsible. But when Vata comes into balance, it's that clarity. So she can speak her mind now with a sense of clarity and freedom as that dosha becomes balanced.
Interesting.
If she was really strategic about what she was saying, then I would say that's a little bit more Pitta. But I think the way she described it, feeling comfortable, feeling confident, is the Vata getting grounded and getting balanced, and then that clarity coming through as she speaks for herself.
That's a brilliant analysis. I love the way you just explained that.
Because it's becoming more natural for me to do it. Is that what you're saying? So it's like it doesn't feel like I have to prepare for this conversation. It just comes naturally now.
It's your Vata coming into balance, and it's not necessarily you strategizing too much, but it's what Dr. Anisha said, that you're coming to grips with where there was imbalance and finding the clarity. And you're so etheric. You know, when we hear your voice, you just sound like an etheric being. So I saw you. Well, I saw your chart. I know there's a lot of air in there. So I'm very blessed. You know, guys, I got to tell you, Dr. Nisha, Nuya's worked with me and for me for so many years that I have the beauty of her creative mind, but she also has a lot of, I saw a little bit of in your astrological chart where you had something in Mars that I think was in Capricorn or something. I don't remember what it was, but you definitely have the moments where you get very driven with precision and strategy, and then you leave Vata behind. And I see these two things swirling together in such beautiful cohesiveness, you know?
Thanks.
And that's what you do for a living. You make websites, you restore websites. Tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, I make websites. I'm a graphic designer. I help people. I give support. Yeah.
Guys, does anybody want to say anything? I appreciate you all chiming in today and being part of this. It's so wonderful. I see that there's a person who I don't recognize, Mr. or Mrs. LLCC@yahoo.com coach. I don't know who you are, but we're saying hello. Oh, hello. Who's this?
Hi, I'm Cindy. I found you on Coast to Coast when you did George Norrie. And was really impressed, so I hunted you down.
Wow.
And my connection is not that great right now, so hang in there with me.
Cindy, we're
sent you a chat.
Oh, it's so wonderful. We're so grateful that you're able to join us. What part of the country are you in, Cindy?
I'm in Rochester, New York, up on Lake Ontario, across from Toronto.
Yeah. One of our favorite places. That's Dr. Anisha's favorite place. It's where she went to school. That's awesome.
Yeah,
hey, Cindy,
we're having a beautiful day.
Good. Hey, so you enjoyed the Coast to Coast? Thank you for listening. You must.
No, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, you must not have a lot to do in the middle of the night between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m.
You'd be surprised at what I'm doing at 3 a.m. Night owl. And I love Coast to Coast. So I'll awesome. Tell you, I'm a Libra with a Capricorn rising. And I have a packed 8th house, Sun, Moon, Jupiter, and Mercury all in the 8th house. And I've got Saturn and Scorpio. So I've got this axis because I've got Venus and Pluto and Leo conjunct.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Cindy. You and I have a lot in common because I have a rising sign in Capricorn also, and I have a ton of stuff in the 8th house as well. So it means that we're pretty sexy, the two of us. All that 8th house Scorpio stuff.
You think?
Sensual, that's a very sensual. That's a very sensual house. I didn't mean to say sexy. I meant to say sensual. So,
oh yeah.
Thank you for
got
joining
Mars
us.
and Pisces.
Oh, one of my favorites. Nobody's gonna beat you up. When you're not gonna get beaten up by Mars and Pisces. That's a beautiful placement. So I want to say thank you for joining us. Did you want to, Cindy? Did you want to add anything? Did you learn a little bit about Ayurvedic medicine? Were you able to? Do you understand a little bit about Ayurveda?
Yeah, I've got a brief, but I get them mixed up. I know that one's melancholy, one's fiery, like Mars and Aries, and then the other one's more of the type A. And whatever those names are, I'm a type A. I'm definitely type A. Yeah. So I have to get wound up, and I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that rising sign in Capricorn has created a lot of type A Pitta energy. If you want, you have the phone number for the office here, Cindy, before we sign off. I want to, you can give us a call. We can talk a little bit more because we're about to end this session here. You want to give us a ring when you have a moment?
I'm not sure. See, it took me a while to even find your website because I don't think you're on Facebook. But
okay,
the number. Type that message on chat, or just give me the place to find it.
Yeah, just go on. So, guys, for anyone who doesn't know, my New Year's putting it up there. You go on www.ask-Dr. Scott, and the office number's on there. So I want to say thank you all for joining in today. And we're going to sign off now. I want to say, I wanted to share something with you all based on where we are with this week. This is a very special week. Something really interesting has happened, and I think you all are energetically feeling it. But I want to remind us all of something. We don't want to let anybody tell us what to believe or what to think. In our upcoming Zoom conferences, we're going to explore what it means to really, really distinguish between what we actually believe in our hearts, based on what our individuality is asking for, versus what we're told to believe. I want to share with you guys, I turn on the TV for 2 minutes and I am bombarded with energy and visuals of other people telling me what to believe. And I'm starting to despise media because I'll tell you why. We're teaching a different concept of moving into the next generation of transcendence. It can be very hard, guys, during this period of confusion to be able to be strong enough to step away from CNN, from Fox, from MSNBC, from anybody who's telling you what they believe is the news, because they know you have the dollars to support their station and their anything. I have no affiliation with this. This is all new for me. I've loved television, and now I dislike it because the idiot box definitely hypnotizes you into telling you what's important. This is very, very important now because we're in this confusing period, and confusion loves somebody who comes on board and says, follow me, I'll tell you what's right. I was talking to somebody not too long ago about the Casey readings, talk about the utopian society, which is all female energy. And this beautiful utopian existence, which is all females running their world. This goes back hundreds of thousands of years ago. That Casey, who's got a track record, and you and I work with the Casey Foundation. He has a track record for impeccable accuracy. The man had a 6th grade reading level, but he did 20,000 readings of impeccable, perfect accuracy. And he channeled the civilizations that were all governed by female energy. This doesn't mean just women. This means people with a lot of female energy, like myself, like Adam, there's many females running around in different bodies, but the female energy is the nurturing, loving energy that wants to progress and retain safety and retain a very elegant connection to the universe. And the reason that utopian society fell out of balance is because the beasts of burden, the male energies, got tired and one day said, you know what, utopian females? There's something out there that you need protection from. Now, this is a strong metaphor, but it comes from the master, and I'm just a messenger. And the beasts of burden, the male energy that was designed specifically to undertake the tasks of physical, brutish needs in society and procreation. That's all they served. One day they got tired of it and they said, you know what, beautiful utopian females, there's a force out there that you need protection from. And this is the very creation of the devil, opposite of God energy. And it said, because there's a devil energy out there, you need us to protect you. And this is the inception and the creation of fear. And this is what's going on right now. And if you really want to move into the next generation and the next dimension, you'll recognize when people are injecting fear. And anybody who tells you what to believe based on what they have on their idiot screen is hypnotizing you into believing that this is what the fear is, and this is what you need us for to protect, to provide information for you. There's 8.2 billion of us on the planet. 8.2 billion different enzymatic makeups, personality traits, Ayurvedic profiles, and astrological charts. You are all individuals. In our upcoming Zooms, we're going to talk about what it really, really means to think for yourself. And when have we become slaves to what other people are saying? This is not just the media. This is not just the groups. This is not whatever Lives Matter or the NRA. I don't really give a crap what it is. There's other people telling you what's important. And the question is going to become, how do we determine what's really important to us? I'm going to give you some insight into that because I had to do it the hard way. And this has been my correction because Saturn in Pisces has to look at the big picture. I've realized my whole life that I've made important things important in my life that weren't really important to me. I was just told they were important. And remember, every time you turn on an electronic device during this Mars and Mercury electronic confusion, you are potentially being told what's important to you. And if you really want to know what to do in the short term until our Zoom conference can cover this, I would say, wait a minute. I don't know if that's important to me. Let me just take a step away and go breathe and balance my Vata confusion. And that's why I'm so pleased that Dr. Anisha and all of you were here today so we can explore what it's like to mitigate that Vata confusion or confusion on any level. I love you guys. I appreciate you all very much. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Scott. You guys have a good
Mwah,
night.
mwah. See y'all soon.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.